Hello. Welcome to the Nerdy Folks Podcast, a conversation about the nerdy things we love and the things that matter most. My name is Matthew Seipel Anderson.
And I am Katie Seipel Anderson.
We are the hosts of the Nerdy Folks Podcast. We love this community, and we are glad you're with us today. Today, we're talking about traveling through time.
Continuing our time theme.
We're all doing it. We might not all be doing it the same.
That's a little weird.
It is a little weird.
So you might experience time differently than I'm experiencing time? That makes so much sense.
It explains so much in life.
It explains so much, especially between the two of us like this.
This could be revolutionary.
This can be revolutionary.
Before we get into the weirdness of time, let's go to an interview I did at Twin Cities Convention about time and time travel. Here we are at Twin Cities Convention, and who am I talking with?
Hi, I'm Pip.
Nice to meet you, Pip.
Yeah.
Thanks for stopping by.
Of course.
So we've been talking about time travel. So
Yes.
the question is, where would you travel in time into the past?
Into the past, where would I travel?
Any place, anytime.
God. Probably, I don't know. Probably back to the French Revolution.
Okay.
That would, I just think that was like, I mean, obviously I wouldn't want to die, but that would be cool.
Well, you'd have to get a fresh baguette, right? Because when you're in France.
Yeah, well, I don't know. The businesses weren't doing so well at the time, but yeah, I would try.
The French Revolution. Interesting choice.
I don't think that's where I would choose to go, but it would be memorable if you could keep your head.
If you could keep your head, it would also help to know some French.
That might be helpful. Unless you're experiencing the French Revolution someplace other than France, like in England or something.
I'm serious about the baguette, though. And coffee.
It's the French I think it's the French Revolution. I don't think you can just walk down the street and get a baguette and coffee.
I mean, they were pulling out the politicians to bring them to the guillotine, and that made them hungry. There's gonna be baguettes.
L'Américain affamé veut une baguette.
Okay, so how about into the future?
Into the future.
Yeah.
Probably like, in the future it's different because I'd want to go somewhere in my lifetime.
Okay.
I would want to probably maybe like 50 years, see what's happening,
Would you try to find yourself?
Yeah, I definitely would. I definitely would, yeah.
Nice. 50 years into the future.
What do you think you would experience if you went 50 years into the future? Would you want to find yourself 50 years in the future?
Honestly, I would not.
I kind of don't think I would either. I don't know. Well, maybe. It's kind of like skipping to the end of the book to see what happens. Except that in this case, you just really don't know. And it kind of is more, it's going to affect you a lot more than a book. And what if you skip to like the wrong page and it's just like one tough season or even one amazing season? And you're like, oh, life's going to be great. And then you're like, whoa, as you go along.
Yeah, and if you felt like you were just destined to have this great future, it might completely derail that great future.
Yeah, because you just kind of float through life being like, it's all going to be fine. We'll be fine.
I've seen the end of the story.
I've seen the end. It's fine.
Interesting. All right, I have one more question for Pip. Okay, final question. What if you had to time travel, but you knew it was a one-way trip?
One-way trip.
Where would you go, and why would you go there?
I would probably, one-way trip, I would probably go to the 60s and stop Syd Barrett from going crazy.
So Syd Barrett?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's the former lead singer from Pink Floyd. He wrote their songs for a while.
Right. Like if his career could be extended somehow.
Too,
Right.
I don't know, because I like all the G albums, but I just wish Syd didn't go crazy.
Interesting that music was such a big deal for him.
Yeah, and he's actually the second interviewee that we have that chose where they would, no, maybe not where they stay, but chose to visit a time based on the music.
Yeah.
Would you choose a time based on if you had to choose a time that you could travel to based solely on music, what would it be?
Oh, man.
Future or past?
It's a tough one because so many of the artists that were really influential, a lot of times they weren't super recognized until later. Or you look back and you're like, oh, wow, that person's career was actually really influential, but during their lifetime, maybe it wasn't as glorious. It's more like in retrospect, it's glorious. Um, well, okay, but just for fun, for the sake of fun, I think it would be fun to go back and see someone like a Bruce Springsteen in his heyday.
Isn't he still kind of in his heyday though?
Well, he's in his golden years.
I think he's always been just living the dream there with music.
It would be fun to go back and maybe get to meet someone like Thelonious Monk is a jazz pianist who I really like his tunes. I'm not a jazz aficionado at all, but I do know Thelonious Monk and a few of the other big names, and he was very eccentric and wrote a lot of songs that are still famous today. So it would be cool to meet someone like him, or to meet like a Mozart who was like a child prodigy, or to go back and see like a 8-year-old Mozart just shredding on the piano. Like, it'd be pretty cool to see some of that stuff.
That's true.
So, Katie, did you know that your phone is connected to a time machine?
Besides my camera with me reliving memories of the past?
Yes.
Okay. I did not know that.
Well, even though the photo app might be more like a time machine in that you can actually look back at the past, which is pretty cool to think of it actually in that respect, that you kind of can, especially with the amount of footage and pictures we're able to take today. That's actually pretty cool.
Be able to experience my food all over again.
Yes.
I've only taken a few food photos. I'm usually more of like a person photo type.
You can't deny a good food photo. Once in a while, you just have to.
I've sent you a few.
Yeah.
Been like, man, I cooked something really awesome and you're not here to enjoy it. So you gotta just look at it.
Well, the actual time machine aspect of our phones relates back to the theory of general relativity. And this is my other did you know. So it's did you know that Einstein discovered that time can be experienced differently by different observers. And so what happens in the real world is that the satellites that run our GPS and that communicate with our phones, those satellites actually experience time differently than we do down here on the surface of the planet. So they have to put software into those satellites that compensates for the relativity of time in order to keep everything in sync.
Oh, that's interesting. Is that because like gravity and movement are different for them since they're not experiencing the same situation as we are on Earth?
Well, I'm not an expert. I'm just going to say yes and yes. Because what I learned was that time is affected by motion. So, for example, if you go near the speed of light, let's say you took like a little trip around the solar system at the speed of light and you were gone for, like a week or something. You came back, Earth would have experienced much more time than your 1-week trip. I don't know how it all works and how much difference, but that's
So
the science.
If you drive a lot, do you get out of sync with people who like are stationary?
I bet you would, honestly. And I bet if you flew a lot, it would be the same thing.
Maybe that's why you get so tired when you're traveling.
Well, yeah, maybe it has nothing to do with my extreme introversion and being stuck in a tin can with people.
By you, I mean people in general.
Oh,
I didn't mean you
I
specifically,
just
but
got a little biographical there. Sorry.
did. So how do you really feel about traveling then, Matt?
I just get a little quiet when we travel. But back to the science, time is affected by gravity. In fact, if you've ever seen the movie Interstellar, you'll remember the scene where the astronauts go to the surface of the planet that they think might be habitable, and it's near a black hole. The people on the surface of the planet end up experiencing time differently than the dude who's left back at the mothership. And so, yeah, really interesting example from science fiction that's actually more science than fiction.
Because it's near a black hole.
Yeah, so the gravity warps space, and so space and time are related. They actually refer to it as space-time.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you're traveling really fast through space-time, that affects time, or if there's a huge object that's warping space-time, then you affect it differently, or you experience it differently.
So maybe C.S. Lewis's Narnia is not just because it's magical. Maybe it's more scientific. Maybe they're like enter through a wormhole into a black hole area, and so they experience time very differently.
Whoa. My mind is blown.
I don't know why my mind went there, but it did. For some reason, I went to Narnia, and I have not read Narnia or seen any of those in a very long time.
You know, sometimes when it snows here in good old Minnesota, I think to myself, to Narnia and the North, or for Narnia and the North.
So why did I think of that and not you? I've never thought that when it snowed.
I think it's because you have beautiful curly hair, which reminds you of Aslan the lion, which reminds you of Narnia.
I don't know how to take that. I'm just going to let that go.
It means that you're like Jesus.
Oh, I'll take that. I was just kind of stuck on the whole mane thing.
Oh, man. So we are experiencing time, or we can experience time differently, but the thing about time is very limited. It's a very precious resource.
Yeah, and we're moving through time. There's not really anything we can do about that. Kind of reminds me a little of the Serenity Prayer. I read that recently for a class I was taking. And it kind of hit me in a new way, having experienced a little more life than before. The Serenity Prayer, let me pull it up here. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That's kind of the classic part of the Serenity Prayer, but it does go on to kind of talk about enjoy life while we have it. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardship as a pathway to peace, taking, as Jesus did, the sinful world as it is, not as the way I would have it, trusting that you will make all things right if I surrender to your will.
You could take each chunk of that and just get so much wisdom for everyday life.
Kind of going into Thanksgiving, it makes me think about being thankful and accepting the things you can't change in the world as it is, and learning to be at peace with that. There are things we can change, there are things we can do, but there's a peace in accepting things also, what they are, and people as they are.
It's a little cliche to say, all right, everyone, count your blessings at Thanksgiving time, but I think it can be very profound if we take it seriously.
And remember, if you're traveling for Thanksgiving, you might be experiencing time different than other people. So, or they might be experiencing time different than you. So you got to have a little extra grace and thankfulness to realize that we're moving through life pretty much the same, but we might experience some things a little different.
Yeah, don't speed on your way to your relative's house. You might go into some time paradox and mess everything up. Katie, what are some of your favorite Thanksgiving foods?
Okay, so I actually really like the cranberry in a can, not like the what are they? It's not the ones with the actual cranberries in it, but
Just the jelly.
The jelly, and I don't like Jell-O, but for some reason I like the jelly cranberries.
Do you eat it with other things, or is that its own little treat?
I could do either. Don't look at me like that.
No, that's what I am that way too.
I do like them.
I like to throw that on my plate so I get a little bit of it mixed with the other stuff.
So I could go either way with it.
Amazing.
I do actually really like them.
Well, let Katie know in the comments if you also like the jellied cranberries. We'd be very curious to know.
Also, whatever other Thanksgiving foods are some favorite things to be thankful for.
Thankful for. Well, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show if you haven't already. Hit the like button in YouTube, hit the subscribe button in your podcast app. We love being connected with you. You can head over to nerdyfolks.com to check out all the things we have available there. We have some t-shirts and some mugs. You can send us an email. It's just like a whole world of funness over at nerdyfolks.com. All right, have a great Thanksgiving. Love y'all. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.